Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Financial Accounting Tree, which is Advanced Accounting. In this class, we will teach via the book of Digan. Digan has an 8th edition available in our library. You can go to the library and you can ask for the hard copy. I think they will rent you out for a very short time, like 1 day or 2 days or 1 week. But it's better you can ask them the access on the online. So online, you can read the whole book chapter-wise. I went a few days back, almost a week back. They have 5 books left only. So if you want to try there and wants to have a get hand on the physical book, please do get it. So whenever I start this lecture and I say, hey, this is chapter number 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's from the Digan book. Second, what we're going to study in this book, basically we are studying all the AASP standards, which is National Financial Reporting Standards. So let's get started with, so how are you going to learn this throughout the semester? So of course, I will upload lectures. I will make a video on every week. So it will be a video. I don't want to upload all the lectures together. I want to see what is the caliber of the students. So I will detail out more things as the class passes. Second will be the face-to-face tutorials. So tutorial is our activity day. So I already put the material online for the tutorials to be discussed in the class. I will encourage you to give an attempt on the tutorial question before you come to the tutorials. But if you cannot do that, at least watch the lecture video. I try to make the lecture videos as small into the chunks as I can. Then we have a Moodle material. So in Moodle, I will put some pre-class activities. You can watch it. There's an open source also available. If you still cannot capture up after seeing the lectures, after doing the tutorial, or after attending my face-to-face tutorial classes, and there's also a pre-class activities and Moodle material, I will highly encourage you to meet me on the consultancy. So in the consultancy, what I will do, I will turn on my Zoom. I already provide you the link and the meeting code. You just need to be there. I will be there for those 2 hours every week. Anything that pop up in your mind you want to ask or consult about, please feel free to ask me. Then if you think you can cover at your own, yeah, you can give it a try after reading all the material available online. But I will highly encourage you to come to the tutorial. So we can have a face-to-face conversation and see what is the most important question that I need to cover. For example, in my tutorial, there are 10 questions. I will not cover all 10. I will never cover all 10. I will cover, if 5 of those are similar, I will select the difficult one. I will do that and leave the rest of the 4 with you. So that one question which I'm going to do in the class has a significant importance because it's kind of like covering for remaining 4 questions. So therefore, I will encourage you to come to the class and see how the things are. And yeah, this is the way you're going to learn. So that's pretty much it from my end. In the next video, I will share what is our chapter number 1. Hi, and welcome to the chapter number 1 of the Digan book, edition number 8. So in this book, in this basically chapter, what we discuss is the overview of the Australian external bodies. Like, what are the different accounting bodies are there? What is their role in the today's management? Who create the standards, accounting standards? Who implement those standards? Who make sure the listed companies are following these standards? Who ask the listed companies, hey, we need some additional information apart from the financial statements? So this is all we cover in this chapter number 1. So let's discuss or dive into objectives of this lecture. So scope and the source of the regulation body will be discussed. What is a financial statement that will be, whether it's a true or fair statements are there or not? Is a financial statement providing a fair view or not? The function of the International Accounting Standard Boards, and there are 3 more bodies relating to that. So these are the main objectives of the lecture. Actually, why we need the bodies to be there, our regulatory bodies. So in this chapter, what we discuss is what is the 4 regulatory bodies and what is their function. But before that, many people rely on these financial statements. They invest on these financial statements. So they see these financial statements. So this financial statement must be true and fair, must be transparent, must be very clear, easy to understand as well. So if somebody is investing on the company, if somebody is being the employee of the company, so the employees, this all should know where our company is heading towards. Because this is a financial statement which will truly reflect what a company's stance in the society, in the people, in the employee, in the stakeholder. So therefore, this transparency can be implemented with these regulatory bodies. Now, what are the 4 regulatory bodies are there? First is the Australian Security and Investment Commission. We call it ASIC. Second is AASP, that is Australian Accounting Standard Board. Throughout the lecture, I will say AACSP, or even throughout the all the tutorials throughout the semester. So all the AASP board represent the accounting standard which we will study throughout this semester. Then we have a Financial Reporting Council, that is FRC. Then Australian Exchange or Security Exchange. It's just like Bursa Malaysia. Anyways, so we will start with ASIC, that is Australian Securities and Investment Commission. So they are the one who kind of like implement the listed companies to provide them the information they needed. Like they give a government, they are kind of like a government representative, they represent the government regulators, and they are enforced to implement all the standards, international accounting standards. And sometimes the company needs general purpose information, which is provided in the general purpose statements, like our financial statements. But sometimes the companies also require some specific statements, like sometimes the bank is asked by Bank Negara, the state bank, to provide us insurance detail, which is not the part of the FI's financial statement, which we know, which is like cash flow statement or the statement of financial income, a statement of changes in equity, which is not the general purpose financial statement. So they have to provide some specific financial statement. So therefore, it is very much important to understand that this is the body who will ask the companies to issue that financial statements. So their first role is, which we already described earlier, is the true and fair statement should be there. Means it should be transparent. The financial statement should truly reflect the position and the performance of the company. And if it is a consolidated financial statement, which you study in, I think, FA2, the financial position and the performance must be in a consolidated entity. So in this upcoming slides, they will tell you that what is the ASIC role, or what are the different statements they look forward for the company to give to the people, or provided to the shareholder, like the director's declaration, director's report. So you never heard about this director report because it's not the part of the annual report, but it is kind of like the very first page of every annual report, which is available. So they are the one who ask the companies to provide this one. So they kind of make ensure that the accounting standards are being followed, and the listed entity should clearly indicate the responsibility of CFO and CEO. Then we have this AASP. AASP is Australian Accounting Standard Board. So when I was in the bachelor, I have a different accounting standards I study, which throughout the years changes, become IFRSs. Some of those just finish, like no more any. And some of those accounting standard merge with other accounting standard. The reason behind that, through the period of the time, accounting standard change. They don't remain the same. So they changes from 1 year to even another year. So Australian accounting standards are the one who kind of like establish the accounting standard. Actually, they are not the one who developed this accounting standard. They take this whole accounting standard from the UK, London, where they establish the IFRSs, and they implement the same from UK to Australia with the name of AASP. So if I say AASP is equal to IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard, yes, they are both same. There is no difference between these two. So back in, I think, 2000, they kind of like lose their power to establish their own accounting standard, and they borrow all the accounting standard from UK. So what is their primary responsibility is to issue the accounting standard, or if there is any change in accounting standard, they have to mention in their books. So all these accounting standards are being used in the financial reports. So the main purpose of AASP is to see through and try to find out if there is any changes in the accounting standard, whether the corporation are following the accounting standard, what are the accounting standard which has been newly developed parliament. So you can read it through. So they give an example of a specific entity, which is there are small companies which has a substantially reduced disclosure requirement as compared to the tier one. So they talk about the tier one and the tier two companies. So tier one companies who has to provide all the financial reporting standard, financial statements, along with the accounting standard they need to implement. Whereas we talk about the tier two, they don't need to provide all the information. They need to provide a very small amount of information which is required. Normally we have this tier two in our small and medium enterprises. So if we say like for tier one, it will be the full compliance. So they need to provide all the information. Whereas I go to the tier two reporting, which is kind of like very limited, very limited amount of compliance they require to do. So AACSP standards are therefore represent like two types of entity. One is a listed, everyone is relying on that, has to fully comply. Another tier two companies reporting entities or companies are those which don't need to comply with all the requirements, just a small amount of disclosure is in it. Then those companies which is now listed, nobody's investing on them. Even there's a solo proprietor, like only 1% company, they don't need to disclose anything, so they are having the fully exemption. Another role by the AACSP is to interpret. So interpretation of the standard is very much important. Like if I say asset, liability or something, what is asset, what is liability, how you define it, what is the criteria to identify asset, how we recognize the revenue, how we say this is a cash flow statement, or this is a cash is coming from this operating activity of cash flow. So all these things we need to interpret it, and that's interpreted by AACSP. Then we have the third body, which is Financial Reporting Council. Financial Reporting Council, if I want to tell what is their main responsibility, the main responsibility in one line is that they oversees the action of AASP. So AASP is like an appointment of AACSP. What is the approval and monitoring of AASP? What is the board of direction and future, how the AASP will go? So their main role is kind of like oversees the AASP. So this is one liner for their responsibility. You can read in book, you can read in the slides. So this is pretty much it for the FRC. Then the last one is Australian Security Exchange, which is kind of like a Bursa Malaysia. It kind of oversees the additional requirement by the listed companies. So earlier we discussed the ASIC, they ask the company to provide the general purpose financial statement or to provide the disclosure or specific record. Whereas ASE, their primary responsibility is to see the companies which are listed in the stock exchange. They must, or they have to follow the accounting standard. And the value of that company, especially the share price, is truly reflected by the company valuation. So they kind of are like a regulator at the level of a stock exchange. So this is a primary responsibility for the Australian Securities Exchange. There are a few more mentioned in this chapter. So by the end of this chapter, what we discuss is there are two different phenomena. One is that can we have like harmoniously like one standard or one regulation for every country? So this is just for a discussion's sake. Like, for example, we have one regulation in China. Whether that regulation can be implemented in Malaysia or in Australia, same one, there will be no change. So for example, we discuss about these four bodies, governing bodies, whether these four bodies can be exactly same in the Malaysian context. So this is more like a discussion. So as per my thinking, due to the culture of the country differ from one to another, so the regulatory bodies also differ from one to another. So therefore, we already have a different accounting or regulatory bodies all across the world. Then in the end, there's one more discussion about whether the regulation is really necessary, because there is a concept of a free market. So whether the regulation is really necessary, yeah, this is more like a discussion in the tutorial. Well, I personally believe that regulation is mandatory. Otherwise, the companies can overstate their assets, their value, which will kind of cause a chaos. So regulatory body is very much important to look after or oversee the interests of the shareholder. So in the upcoming slides, that they give a concept of a free market when there is a no regulation, the price is determined by the supply and the demand, just like the economics tools we have. But yeah, here you can give me your personal opinion in the class, and I will look forward for it. So that's pretty much it, I think, from this lecture. There's a few slides you can read it through. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.